Hello again. I am Charlotte. Charlotte's So Natural here in historic downtown Newton and sonatural.com on the web. And welcome to my Wisdom Wednesday. If you saw my last week's installment, I was talking about flying geese. I am working on this little project here, my flamingos and the flying geese from the flamingo fabric, and I called it Don't Fear the Geese, because there are many different methods to do flying geese. The pattern again shows one method, and then I showed another method, which was basically I made them oversized using Marty Michelle's small flying geese ruler. I made them the next size up from what was called for, which is a finished 2x4, and then I used the block flying geese ruler for the 2x4 size geese. So then I made I believe it's 68. So I have some on this side, some on this side, and then the top and the bottom. I have them both up there. So I have made all my geese and sewn the border strips together, and now I measured them. So actually you can see here, I think, maybe possibly, but they aren't exactly the same. This one is like 1/4 of an inch more, which is pretty darn close. But you can see when you have all these seams, that's the thing that's going to happen, is that you're going to gain some even as precise as you could possibly sew. Same with this. So I measured this, and this is a Creative Grids yardstick ruler. It's actually 36.5 inches long, and this is one of the funny rulers that I never would have thought I needed. One day I took one home just for a particular project. I don't remember what it was, but I grab this ruler all the time. So if you think you have all the rulers you could possibly need and you don't have this one, guess what? This might be really useful. So I want you to know that that exists. You can use it for rotary cutting. It's just a great ruler. Anyway, so I got my geese made, and they are very, very close. I got lots of points. I didn't lose them. And when I got them sewed together, they are close. But the neat thing about this pattern, and most patterns with geese, is I'm going to add another little border to this panel before I cut it to size. So no matter what the pattern says now, I am going to use what I actually have results of in my sewn flying geese borders to cut this panel to size. So I just want you to remember that anytime you're sewing a piece border, particularly one with a lot of seams, like a piano key or lots of seams in it, don't cut your panel until you have that border sewn. Now, don't fear the geese, but even as careful as I was with this, I ended up with some geese that just weren't perfect. And I just want to show you, I have analyzed this. So this is, I think this is the one that's how it's supposed to look. So once I have cut the large triangle and cut 2 small triangles and sewn them together. And when I have that sewn together, I should be able to have a little bit beyond this ruler template that I can trim off, and then I will trim here, 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 and then I will have a perfect 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangle. Now, for some reason, even though I did that here, when I go to put this on there, it still isn't right. Now, isn't that the kind of problem that we often have with flying geese? It just isn't right. No matter how careful I wasn't careful enough, because I still have a problem. So what I'm going to do with these is I didn't want to throw these away, and I also didn't want to have ones where I just lost the point after I've been so careful with all the rest. So you sew these in 2 steps. This is the first one that got sewn on, and then this is the second one that got sewn on. So I'm going to take a look at this, and what I need this to do is I need this one. If you look here, Kirsten, can you see that? The light isn't great here, but if you see that, see where this little, can you see that line there? Mm-hmm. So once I get this down so that I won't be losing my point there, I can see this has to come way over. And I suspect that somehow when I was cutting this, that I somehow got this just a little bit too, I don't like the glare on here, but if I line this up with my first seam, and then I bring this blunt point down to this edge where it got sewn on, I can see that I could trim this much away, and I will still be in plenty, have plenty of room to slop and chop. So I took my handy dandy ripper. This is a new style ripper. If you haven't seen this, we sell these. They're really pretty great, and I can talk with my hands while in between ripping, which is great. So I ripped. You don't want to distort this seam. This is all on the bias. So I'm going to cut about every third stitch. I'm just going to run it under there and cut that, and then whip around here to the back after I've done that whole row, which I did before we turned on the camera. And now I can just pull that, and now nothing is distorted by the ripping. Now I'm going to lay my template on here again, and I am going to see if I put this edge right against there, I will have this much to trim off. When I go to sew this back on and it's trimmed off, I can show you on this side. So there is essentially what I'm doing. So this is lined up here. That is lined up. This is lined up on the seam line, and I'm going to cut this much off. When I sew this back on to that new line, I'm going to have all kinds of slop to chop off. That's the whole goal here, is we want it oversized so that we can fit that little template right up in there and be able to cut off any extra. So that is the goal. So I just wanted you to see that even if you miss a point on, like, so I thought out of 68 to get 3 that weren't up to snuff was pretty good. So I was learning as I was going along, but actually these were done near the end and I got sloppy, I think. So anyway, that's my wisdom for today, to just keep going ahead, and there's usually a way to fix it without too much work. Again, if you are just making a simple throw and you don't mind losing some points, don't worry about it. I wouldn't have worried about it if I wasn't making an issue for you of don't fear the geese, and I didn't want you to be worried that you had lost a point. So I'll show you that I did, and there was a way to fix it. So hope you have a great day. Hope the weather is wonderful where you are, and I'm looking forward to laying out in the sun with some flamingo friends, maybe in Florida, I don't know. Thanks. I'm Charlotte. Charlotte's So Natural in Newton, Kansas. SoNatural.com on the web. Bye.